Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back to the Armchair Booking Wrestling Podcast. I'm your host. My name is Stunning Steve Barber, and joining me, as always, is my awesome co-host, the intellectual rock star himself, Delicious Joyland Davis.
Hey, everybody.
By the way, I really appreciate your show today on Professor Pig. I had never heard of Professor Pig,
Thank you.
and it sounds like one of the creepiest individuals, like in the history of ever.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Um, it actually sounds like a like one of the unsubs on Criminal Minds. I mean,
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, he does. Yeah.
So if y'all have not heard Intellectual Rockstar, go give it a listen. It is absolutely great. I always make sure I try to stay caught up in the episodes. And as soon as I saw you posted today on Facebook that hey, the new episode's out, I went ahead and made sure I downloaded it. So Professor
Thank you. I appreciate
Pig,
that.
yeah,
Yep. Professor
yeah,
Pig.
PYG Pig. Unlike Animal House, that boy is a PIG pig. This is PYG Pig.
Yeah.
So today we're going to be talking about something that recently happened, but it's kind of leads into historical aspects as well. The bloodline has really just splintered,
Yeah.
and we saw that from Jey and Jimmy Uso both, kicking Roman in the face the other night,
hmm
and they kicked Solo Sikoa, their own brother,
Yeah.
the face. Roman is their cousin, second cousin, whatever. He's actually their dad's cousin,
hmm
but Solo Sikoa is their brother,
hmm
and they kicked him in the face. So I imagine that the holidays around their household right now is probably not going to be pleasant.
Yeah, it's gonna be a little icy. Yeah.
Yeah, they're going to say, "Hey, can you pass potatoes?" And next thing you know, somebody gets hit in the head with with a potato. So,
Yeah.
but either way, it's still enjoyable. Um, I like Sammy and KO still being tag team champions.
hmm
Um, I hopefully they stay the champions for a while, and hopefully Gunther holds the Intercontinental belt until he passes the Honky Tonk Man.
Yep. Hopefully.
Yeah, and
Fingers crossed.
yes, and I don't think there's anybody except for maybe the Honky Tonk Man, who's going against that. Everybody wants him to pass it the Honky Tonk Man.
I mean, remember when Santino Morello was the Intercontinental Champion and he had the honky meter and it would show how many days he had until he beat the honky tonk man, which of course, he never did, but
Never did.
everybody wanted Santino to beat the record. It's like nobody wants the honky tonk man to be the all time record holder for the Intercontinental title.
Because, in my opinion, he wasn't believable as a champion.
He wasn't believable. He wasn't any good.
Right.
That's the whole thing. It's like he was not any good. It's like mic skills were decent, in ring work was not good at all. And there's a Weasley heel, and then there's the honky tonk man.
Right.
Yeah, and it's like, no, just none of it was good. No.
And, he got in the business through nepotism, and then he
hmm
stayed in there through cronyism.
Yep.
And, now I don't know if Jerry Lawler actually got him like in the business, because there for the longest time they actually said that even though they were cousins, and they were saying this was, a shoot that they actually didn't like each other. And then
hmm
Jerry Lawler came out and said later on that was never true. He said they always got along, so and don't know where that started, but
There's no telling.
yeah, but oh, but what are you gonna do, huh?
Yeah.
I do want to give some shout outs though. Always got to shout out Ted the Hillbilly Hill. He's he gives you feedback and he gives me
hmm
feedback, and he's always letting us know how we're doing, and he gives us ideas, and um Ted, he is the Podfather, and to go check him out. The Heel Truth. He's not doing the socials anymore, but he's still doing the podcast, and he's also he's getting his YouTube channel up and going.
Okay.
So his now award-winning, critically acclaimed audio podcast will also be award-winning, critically acclaimed on YouTube.
There you go.
So um, give another shout out to BC Hunter. I had messaged him and I sent him a picture of the Star Wars cubes, with the little heads,
Yeah. Yeah.
and he said, like, he just did an LOL. He's like, yeah, I don't. I don't ever remember seeing them in cereal box. He said, I don't remember those at all. So the little ones, yeah, they that's what I've seen on a couple of like key message boards. So yeah, that's my nerd thing. Um, and they also, yeah, they came from Canada. And anytime you go on eBay and look, you'll see majority of them bid on them or buy them outright. They are usually coming from Canada.
Oh, okay.
So, um, but and also give a shout out to Finisher Wrestling. Those guys are awesome.
Yes, they
Yeah,
were. Yep.
yep. We got to get on their show next because we have, they already got a topic for us. In fact, they
Hmm.
told us a topic before they even came on our show. I
Yeah.
was like, hey, cool. So we got some stuff in the works. Because we always make it a we're going to make it a good show with them, just like they made it a good show with us. So,
Absolutely.
uh, and of course, Dad World Order, can't forget them. They're always shouting us out. TNC Sports Talk, Justin, whenever he's able to record, he always shouts us out. Um, and of course, I always got to give a shout out to Kyle. He was actually on my other podcast, the Cubicle Chat podcast, last week. He came on there, and we had a good time with that. And speaking of Cubicle Chat, I'm going to throw this out there. I have a feeling my next episode on that is going to be a review of the movie Breakin', and maybe both Breakin' and Breakin' 2.
Electric Boogaloo.
Yes, sir.
Oh, they're just awful. Just awful.
They're
Those.
fun movies. They are very, very fun movies. I have not seen. Oh, I had up until yesterday. I had not seen either one in over 35 years.
Hmm.
And when I was watching, I was like, "Oh my, um, this is not good. It's
Yeah.
fun. It's fun, but it's not good."
Well, it's like going back and watching The Warriors. The Warriors was awesome when I was a kid.
I have
I've
never
watched
seen
it.
it. It's
You've
on my
never
bucket
seen
list.
it?
It's on my
I've
bucket
watched
list.
it since I've been an adult, and it's like, oh, this is not good at all. Now it's a cult classic, and there's still people that love it, but me
Hmm.
personally, it does not hold up well at all.
Um, yeah. And my wife had found Breaking Two Electric Boogaloo on
Hmm.
DVD a few months ago, but I said we can't watch it until we watch
Yeah, you got to
the
watch
first
the.
one.
Yeah.
And so now we watched Breaking. Found it in a bookstore yesterday. Half Price Books. That's the bookstore chain. Found it, and we since it was Father's Day, I threw that card down and said, "Look here, we're
This
watching Breaking.
is what we're watching.
This is what we're watching." And we started watching it, and my daughter, she looked and she said, "This is borderline after school special," or
Gosh, she's not
uh,
wrong.
yeah. And my wife said the same thing. She's like, and because we had to, then we had to explain what an after school special was to my son. He had never heard of it,
Mm, okay.
um, but I'm like, yeah, because there was like one one instance of a language that they would have to bleep out.
Hmm.
Um, and they dropped a GD bomb, which is
Hmm.
normally, not acceptable on like an after school special.
Yeah.
But I mean, they're calling each other, "Look here, sucker! All right, fool."
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
wow, you got him there, you know,
Yeah. Burn.
earn. And so much dancing, so much
Yeah.
dancing the entire movie.
Yeah.
Just the stuff you don't think about when you're 10 years old watching a movie.
Yeah.
It's like they're either showing like break dancing or they're showing like ballet dancing or a mixture of the two where they're you know
Hmm.
and then I don't know who it was that asked, "What is the plot of this movie?" I'm like, I don't know anymore. It's
I never knew. It's like
Yeah, I know
I don't know.
Breaking Two actually does have a plot. They're trying to save like the youth center called Miracles.
Mm.
So I get that one. That one actually does have a underlying plot. Breaking really didn't. I and and them having their dance fight, their dance war with electro rock. And the one girl, the secret weapon of Electro Rock, she just comes out and she's doing this the whole time. And I'm even like, I can even beat that,
Hmm.
But anyway, so, but yeah, that'll probably be on my next episode. I was hoping to get our mutual friend to come on and do the cubes. He got back with me, and he said that his anxiety, he can't do it, which I get it. So,
Yeah,
but I did tell him the invite's always there if he ever changes his mind.
yeah.
So,
He's a really good guy. He's
oh
he's
yeah,
one of
seems
our
like it.
he's one of our good friends. So
Of course, the funny thing is, I have to point out to him, he may already know this. Erno Rubik was a architect,
yeah,
and
I'm sure he does because he went to school for that. He went to
for
school for
architecture,
architecture.
right? So saw that in his bio. So, but anyway, back to the story at hand. Wrestling. SmackDown. I've caught the highlights. I haven't been able to actually sit down and actually watch the recording, but I have seen the highlights. It seemed like it was a pretty decent show. At least the crowd was popping hard when they were kicking Roman Reigns in the face.
Yeah, when I mean Jey Uso went through the entire thing and he's like really laying in the Jimmy, and you're like, well, he's you knew he was turning on Roman. I mean, if you watched long enough, you knew that's just how the story had to come full circle. But the way he just lit into Jimmy and everything he was saying was like, maybe he's not. Maybe they decided not to do it yet. And then when he's like, "You're out," and I'm out too, and then kicks Roman in the face, I was like Michael Cole was like, "Oh my God!" And it was one of those type of moments. And then Solo charges at him, gets kicked in the face, and then Roman gets up screaming at him. He's like, "You don't need me. You think you don't need me?" And then they both kick him in the face.
So, like our good friend Riley Matthews would say, somebody's going to get a kick in the face.
Exactly. And the crowd was eating it up. I mean, Jey Uso had the entire arena in the palm of his hand. And that just shows how much Jey has progressed as a performer. He was already a great wrestler. Usos are the greatest tag team in WWE history, in my opinion. But Jey Uso as a single star is just, he's really come into his own, especially with the character work.
I am sending a message to a friend of ours right now who's actually there. Um,
Yeah, yeah,
Trey. Yeah, Trey was
yep.
actually
Trey
there.
was there. Yeah.
I think Trey and Courtney. Yeah, I just want to ask him how loud was the crowd Friday night when they started kicking Roman in the face. And the very next night, WWE, they were actually in Cincinnati, and of course, once again, I'm need money
Yeah,
and
yeah.
wasn't able to go. Um, so how loves the crowd Friday night when they started kicking Roman in the face? All right, because it's one thing to hear it on TV, it's
Yeah,
another
but
thing to actually be there.
yeah, I'm sure that arena was. I'm sure it was shaking almost when that happened. And
Yeah.
now they've booked that they're calling the Bloodline Civil War match, the Usos versus Roman and Solo at Money in the Bank, which I'm fine with the match. I'm sure it's going to be an excellent match, but it's once again Roman's not defending his world title on a pay per view.
You know, remember back in the day when Hogan used to catch criticism?
Hmm.
And it wasn't because he wasn't defending the title, it was because he wasn't defending it as much as Ric Flair. Ric Flair was defending it, um, almost every day of the week,
Oh
and
yeah,
literally twice on Sunday sometimes.
yeah. And not
So,
only was he defending it, he was having like 60-minute Clary Wyndham, stuff like that. Well, Hogan's giving you the 300 punches, a kick, and a leg drop.
right, and he's doing it like 2, 3 times a week, and Vince was trying to say,
Yeah,
"Oh, it's a grueling schedule." Like, no, not
It's like,
not yeah.
no.
And well now, well then Brock has called criticism for not
Hmm.
defending it as much. Now I think Roman, he's probably defending it a little bit more than Brock, but that's not saying much.
Yeah.
But to have the pay-per-views where your champion, the undisputed champion,
Hmm.
is not defending the title, and then they're saying his reign is going to be one of the longest reigns ever. Well, no crap. I mean, his reign's not going to end if he never defends it.
Yeah. And here's the thing: he defended it this past weekend against Rey Mysterio at a house show, but he's not.
Wow,
But he's not.
I guess that's what they did in Cincinnati.
I think so. I'm not 100%
Yeah.
sure, but I know he defended it against Ray, which is fine. Fans in attendance got a world title match. But Money in the Bank is one of their bigger pay-per-views of the year.
Mm-hmm.
Why is his world title not going to be defended? Because Seth's is. Seth will be defending the world title against Finn Balor at Money in the Bank.
Uh-oh. Because we're going to be doing a Money in the Bank preview and predictions here
Hmm.
within the next couple of weeks. Um, I'm gonna go ahead and throw up a prediction that whoever wins Money in the Bank, they're going to cash in on Roman after the Bloodline uh, Civil War match.
They could. They very well could. The front runners are Damian Priest and LA Knight.
Oh, LA Knight, he is so over right now.
Yeah, are the two front runners. And like people are really surprised. I know we'll get back to the bloodline thing in a second, but
Right.
yeah, like you said, LA Knight is so over. And people are, it's like management. I think management is surprised at how over he is. It's like you hired him. Somebody in that company had to have watched Impact Wrestling
Mm-hmm.
when he wrestled there. He was over there and he was a heel and he was over. He was the Impact World Champion at one point. It's like I don't understand how the management's like, oh, he's really popular with the fans. He's always been popular with the fans. When he does the LA Knight thing, that's because everywhere else he wrestled, it was Eli Drake. It's the
Ah, okay.
same,
Yeah.
the same motion, the same, voice pattern, and it's like fans from his and Impact Wrestling and the independents are fans of him in WWE, and his popularity is just going up. I'm afraid they're going to screw it up though, and not. I personally, I think he should be the one to win Money in the Bank. He's hot
That
right
makes sense.
now. Because Damian Priest will get his time because
Oh yeah.
they're already grooming him to be a main event guy. He's going to get his time, his kind. But the Money in the Bank should go to LA Knight. He's the hot commodity right now, and you got to strike while the iron's hot. WWE has a bad habit of, oh, we got this really popular star over here, but here's who we want to be the popular star. So we're going to put the briefcase on him, aka Austin Theory,
Yeah.
and it didn't work. The
That
the
was
the briefcase
bizarre.
for Austin Theory was the worst thing that happened
Oh,
to him in his career. He was so much better once he got rid of that. Once he lost that briefcase.
oh, just yeah, that one, the way that ended, they're like, somebody's going to get a title shot tonight. Open challenge. Okay, I'm going to do my briefcase then. No, they
Yeah,
literally
it's
said
like
open challenge. You don't even have
yeah,
to do
they
the
said
briefcase,
you don't have to cash it. And here's the
dummy.
thing: since when are we cashing in Money in the Bank on the mid card title?
I mean, I know they said it could be any title, and I was still waiting for R-Truth to cash it in on the 24/7 title. That would have been awesome.
But I mean, every time it's ever been cashed in, it's always been on a world championship. It's never
Yeah,
been on the mid card title. So it's like they've even said on certain Money in the Banks that whoever wins this has a guaranteed world championship match
yeah.
at their choosing. So it was just dumb to
It makes the
do it that way.
wrestler look stupid to not
Yeah,
cash it in on the world title, but do it on the undercard title.
yeah, yep.
Um, but anyway, like we were saying about about the bloodline and Roman holding it and not defending it, even not defending it at the next pay per view, which is Money in the Bank, and that's over in London. Yeah, that is in London, right? Yeah.
Yep,
Yeah.
at O Arena, I believe.
Oh, the O2.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been there. I saw Miley Cyrus there.
I'm sorry.
Oh, you know what? I didn't. It wasn't planned out for me to go watch Miley Cyrus. The other people, the other woman and her daughter,
hmm
um, who were supposed to go, ended up backing out last minute because it was snowing in the little village we lived in,
Oh, okay.
and when um, we drove down on Friday because I actually
hmm
started the day at work and then I had to work half a day and then got in the car and left. Um, well, this woman and her daughter was Avery's best friend. Um, and then I actually worked. I had just went to the second base in England. I actually worked with this woman's husband. He was actually a
hmm
civilian contractor, and they just happened to live in our same village, and that's how Avery and this girl named Jessica became friends. And they were in the same kindergarten class. And then
hmm
they've just been friends ever since. But um, Avery was part of the Miley Cyrus fan club,
Okay.
because of Hannah Montana and all that. And
hmm
so that's how they ended up. They got 4 tickets, and I was go down there because I was driving. I actually was just going to hang out in the hotel whenever
Right.
whenever they went, and and it was um, and this other woman, Tammy, she was actually supposed to come down too, but because it was snowing, and it was snowing hard in the little
hmm
village of Munford where we lived, and so when we took off, we're like, okay, we'll meet y'all down there, and but then once we London was about an hour and a half away from us, and about 20, 30 minutes into the drive, the snow stopped. All of a sudden, I
Okay.
mean, it was like nothing. And we told them, like, hey, um, there's no snow once you get past, this certain point.
hmm
Well, her husband ended up telling her and he had some stuff, and I actually knew this because he was actually the head civilian where we were at.
hmm
There were some maintenance issues going on with like the power grid, and those things had been going on before I even left work. And I knew those were legit. So he didn't want her driving, by herself going down there. And I was
Right.
like, I get it. Then we're also like, well, get on the train and come down,
Yeah.
the train system, but they didn't. So now we had these 2 extra tickets. And so we're like, all right, I guess I'll go watch Miley Cyrus. And actually, her brother's band, Metro Station,
Oh,
uh,
okay.
yeah, they had like one song that they're kind of known for, the shake, 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 shake it.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
Yep. So, um, yeah, and it wasn't a bad show. Miley Cyrus, she could perform. I mean, there was no doubt she put on a good show because I mean, um, she was only 17 at the time because this was before she lost her mind on the MTV Music Awards show.
Yep.
Um, Cut her hair and was like attempting to twerk
Yeah.
and looked like really horrible doing it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. It was
it's like
bad.
I don't know what happened to her, but that girl lost her flipping mind. But but I mean, it was Avery's very first concert though, and she had a good time, and so um, I went. We had a ticket that never got used, and so
hmm
we had an empty seat beside us,
Right.
and that place was packed. But yeah, that was at the O2 Arena, the same place that they're going to be having Money in the Bank. So I can say, yeah, I've been there.
And I mean, it should be an excellent match. I mean, the story is still going strong, and that's you don't see this in pro wrestling these days. You
No,
know,
you don't.
back in the day, you used to see a prolonged storyline and it could hold up, but in the when things got to where they just hot shotted stuff so much just to pop a rating or whatever, you don't get this kind of long drawn out storyline thing. And I mean, this has been going on since 2020.
God, it has.
Yeah, it's
Wow.
been it's been going on since Roman first won the Universal title in 2020, as after he came back from taking time off uh, because of COVID and stuff,
Right.
and it's been going on ever since. And it doesn't look like it's slowing down any, and it's still interesting to
Mm-hmm.
everybody. So, but you look at this current family feud between the Usos and then Roman and Solo over here, and then you think about other family feuds in wrestling. You know, you've had Stardust versus Goldust.
Yep.
You had Cody versus Dustin in AEW, one of the AEW's first few pay-per-views.
Yep.
Cody and Dustin had a hell of a match.
Yep.
And you've had, like we were talking before the show, the Andersons, Ole and Arn, when Ole got kicked out of the Horsemen. And for just a brief moment, Ole was a face, and which was weird. It was just
Yeah.
Ole being a face is just weird for me. But
not
him and
the
Arn,
first time he's been a face, but
no,
it just didn't
but
feel
after
right.
being a Horseman and all the stuff he had done, for now to be a face and the fans are supposed to cheer him, and that's why it didn't work, because the fans are like, "No, we're not cheering this guy."
We haven't forgotten what he did.
Exactly. Um, but they went at it. Of course, the McMahon family drama has been going on on TV and pay per view since really WrestleMania 17. Vince and Shane had their match. Foley was the referee.
Yep. Well,
Shane,
the year before at Mania 2000 or whatever they're calling it.
that's right. That's right.
Yeah, they had the
Yeah,
McMahon in every corner.
yeah. And then,
One of the worst WrestleManias ever.
oh Lord, because here's the thing: nothing against Mick Foley, and I appreciate the fact that they put him in the match. He
Yeah.
deserved to have a WrestleMania main event. The match should have always just been Triple H and The Rock.
Yeah.
That's because that's what it came down to. That was the feud everybody was trying to get to. This had to eliminate Big Show and Mick Foley first to get to it. Then you have the big McMahon swerve where he turns heel again and all this, and it's like, but you've had Vince versus Shane, you've had Vince versus Stephanie, which was just a ridiculous match that Vince was literally beating the crap out of his daughter on pay-per-view. And
Which
it's
is just
like,
uncomfortable.
yeah, it's like, why was this match even booked? The Shane, um, like the Shane match with him at WrestleMania was a good match, all the drama and everything. And then, Shane is a pretty good athlete. Vince sells like
Yeah.
nobody else. Um, like you said before that, we had the whole Ministry of Darkness thing, and Shane had the corporate ministry, and it was
Yeah.
Shane and Undertaker running that, and then Vince ends up being the higher power and says he was behind the whole thing, which made no sense. That was actually supposed to be Christopher Daniels,
Really?
the higher power, yeah, but something happened and they couldn't ever, get things worked out. So Vince just thought, well, who better in a role than me? Anybody, Vince. Anybody but you.
Anybody but you, Vince.
Yeah.
Anybody but you. But
I mean,
you're forgetting the most obvious family feud though. Brett and Owen.
yeah, Brett and Owen. Yep. I kicked your leg out from under your leg.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Get your leg out your leg.
Yeah.
uh,
But that was an excellent feud.
had one of the best WrestleMania matches ever.
Oh, yeah. Anybody who hasn't seen it, go watch WrestleMania 10.
Yep.
They opened the show and nobody else could follow it.
Nope. And so Brett had the very first match of the night
In the very last match.
and the very last match.
Yep.
And then Owen came out, of course, after Brett beat Yokozuna, for the title. Then Owen came out and was just standing there in the aisle looking like,
just and then they had an excellent cage match at SummerSlam that year for the title. Like they had an excellent feud, and then it ended up going into the extended version of the Hart Foundation during the Attitude Era, where everybody kind of came together. But I mean, Brett and Bulldog had some wars. They had the match at SummerSlam.
Yep.
At
Probably
Wembley.
one of the best SummerSlam matches ever.
And then they also had a match later, a few years later. Brett was the champion. Bulldog was the challenger. It was at an In Your House. I can't remember which one at this point, but uh, Brett got busted open. It was a pretty violent, bloody match. Brett ended up winning, but it's a good match. If you can go, it's one to go out of your way to watch if you can find it.
Okay.
Should be, it's on Peacock. So
one of the In Your Houses.
Mm-hmm.
Which at the time was the WWF version of Clash of the Champions. There were so many of them.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So and it's like they started out just In Your House this, In Your House that, and then they started giving them names and all this, and it's like,
which is easier to keep track of than like Clash of the Champions number 28. I'm like,
yeah,
give it a name.
yeah. It's
Something.
like, which one was 28? It's like, I mean, I've seen them all, but it's like I need to know who was on which one.
Yeah, and wasn't like the Super Bowl where they only have one a year. It's easy to keep track of it.
Yeah.
So, but I think this one, because Brett and Owen, I mean, yeah, they were like a team, if you want to call them that. But they really were not a team that long before they split.
No, they had a few tag team matches, and then they had, when things really started breaking down, was their Survivor Series match when all the
Yeah,
Hearts
all the
were.
Hearts.
Yeah, and that's really when things fell apart and started to fall apart. And then I think they had a tag match at the Rumble and the following year, and I think that's when.
That's when, yeah, because they were going
Yes,
against the Rougeaus.
yeah, they had a tag title match, and then Owen blamed Brett for losing and kicked his leg out of his leg, and
Yep.
there we go.
And if people don't know what we're talking about, please go watch the Royal Rumble. You just have to see it was a live promo, and Owen said that, and
Yeah,
of course that Rumble, the Rumble match itself is the one where is Kevin Nash's breakout party.
yes, yeah,
And that's also the one, the Undertaker with the casket match, and apparently he died. You know,
yeah, because it took 10 guys to get him in the casket and all that stuff. It's like, okay, Undertaker, okay, we get it. This supposed supernatural being, this big strong guy, but it was Yokozuna that he was facing.
mm-hmm.
Yokozuna didn't need the help. It shouldn't have taken 10 guys to get him in the casket. And then he
uh,
ascends to the heavens and all this stuff, and it's like, ugh.
and if anybody wants the connection to the bloodline in that one, well, Yokozuna, he was one of the cousins. He was part of the Anawai family.
Yep.
And also Rikishi was one of the people. His name wasn't Rikishi at the time, but he was one of the 10, 15 wrestlers who came out. And
yeah, he was fought. I think he was still fought too at the
was he fought
time.
too? Okay. Yeah, he was. Yeah, they were calling the head shrinkers.
Yeah,
I always hated that name, by the way. I just want to throw that out there.
yeah. I like the Samoan SWAT team, but I always hated the head shrinkers. I felt it
Yeah,
was,
degrading.
yeah, a little degrading, a little racially tone deaf.
Yeah, yeah. There you go. You know, the yeah, because not yeah. I think racially tone deaf is a
Hmm.
better perfect way to put it. It's like, yeah, don't say that.
Yeah,
You know,
it's like every Polynesian person does not have to be, you know, portrayed as a savage, you
right?
know.
And
And yes, they did it with Umaga, and at first I was like, here we go again. But he made that work.
yeah, Umaga made it work because
He
Umaga
made
was
it,
just he was
and the thing
scary.
is, he made it work, and then it got away from him being like a Samoan savage and all this, and they started calling him the Samoan bulldozer, and that worked so much better
Yep.
because he just came out and just mauled people, and it had nothing to do with head shrinkers or being a savage on an island or whatever. It was just this big, strong Samoan dude running through people.
By the way, I think Alpha or no Sika was also he wasn't involved, but he was like outside the ring, kind of directed traffic a little bit too.
Yeah, because he was managing the head shrinkers at the time.
Yep. So there you go. all these connections. They were all connected to the bloodline. That
Yep.
was not. That was 19. No, that was 29 years ago.
Hmm.
Wow.
Yeah.
Holy
Yeah.
crap. That just seems wow. That was 29 years ago, and here we are. They're all back. I mean, they're like the
Hmm.
top of the
Yep.
cards now. But yeah, that was a night that the Hearts, you know, officially broke up. Then
Hmm.
Owen got chucked out of the ring by Kevin Nash, or Diesel, as he was on at the
Yeah.
time, and he also no, he did not eliminate the first either Fatu or Samu, because it was whichever one. I think it was had to be Samu. He would always get his head caught in the ropes, like the Mick Foley thing.
Yes. Yeah, that was Samu. Yeah.
Yeah. And the Steiners just kind of
Yeah.
pushed him and he fell off. But the Steiners also
Yeah.
they had a couple matches to get, against each
Yeah,
other.
because they were legit one of the best tag teams in the world. You're talking, you know, WCW tag champions,
Hmm.
IWGP tag champions, WWF tag champions. Everywhere they went as a team, they
They
won gold.
Yeah,
And
deservedly
but
so.
the, but then Scott gets hurt. You know, this was like late '90s WCW. Scott gets hurt. He's out for a while. Rick's doing his own thing solo. Scott comes back noticeably bigger. Like it's like he
Yeah.
put on a weight suit. And Scott Steiner was not a small man,
No, he
but
was not.
when he came back, he had muscles in places I didn't know the human body could have muscles. And then they kind of teased the falling out, and then he they were defending the tag titles against the outsiders. And, you know, middle of the match, they got the outsiders on the ropes. They do the whole, for anybody who doesn't know about the Steiners, they always have this pose where Rick would get down on all fours and then Scott would lean over top of him with his hands on his shoulders, and
Yep.
Rick's barking at people and
The
stuff like that. And then,
dog face gremlin.
yep. And then Scott hit him with the double axe handle and beat him down and helped the outsiders win the tag titles. And then the next night on Nitro, he comes out. He still had the black hair and like the goatee and stuff. He came out on Nitro the next night, and he's looking like the reincarnation of superstar Billy Graham. He's got
Yep.
the blonde hair and the goatee, and even had a Superman symbol on his tights, and it was like, yeah. And they had a couple of matches, but not for too. Their feud didn't go for too long, but they did. They did have a few matches against each other.
And also, there's one family feud that's actually happening right now. It just now hit me, because we're thinking like brothers and cousins.
Hmm.
My God, Ray and Dominic.
Ray and Dominic. Oh Lord, yeah, yeah. Ray and old Dom is still going on. I mean, they're still wrestling each other on the house show loops, and even though they're on two different brands on the house shows, they're still doing like the super shows where everybody kind of comes together. But yeah, you had Clash at the Castle, and Dominic had enough of Ray picking the Edge over him, and you know kicked old Edge in the yam bag, and then
um,
there you go.
I bet that had to have been a very uncomfortable plane ride home.
Yeah. That clothesline he hit Ray with was stiff.
Hmm.
I still say Dominic should have won that match at WrestleMania. That
Yep.
the story was right there. Have Dom,
Yep.
cheat to win. Be a heel. Cheat. He beats his dad. His dad retires. That's his last match.
Yeah.
Dominic has that that notch on his belt that I retired Rey Mysterio. I retired my dad. I retired the greatest luchador to ever step through the ropes. Dominic is a made man right there.
And none of that, but I had my WrestleMania moment with my
With
dad,
my dad. Yeah.
which that right there would be, we're just a couple days away, removed from Father's Day,
Yeah.
and that would have
Exactly.
been, and
Oh yeah.
I do wonder if Dominic even called Ray on Father's Day, so
Ex-con Dom has got too much other stuff going on right
He
now.
does. I mean, prison changes a man.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
really does.
he did hard time. He did a hard 15 minutes. And uh he comes out of prison, it just changes a man, and
but I still applaud Dominic. That character change, he changed everything about himself. Like,
mm-hmm,
because he was the white meat baby face kid, he was he was just Rey Mysterio's son.
mm-hmm,
Now he's on his own, and the crowd response that he gets, it's not like that Baron Corbin go away heat or that X-Pac go away
yeah,
heat. The heat that he's getting is legitimate heel heat, and Dominic may be the biggest legit heel in that company, because whenever he
mm-hmm,
picks up a microphone and starts talking, the fans literally boo him out of the building
yep.
just
And
because they despise him that much.
yeah, they despise that character. What the
Mm-hmm.
character did. It's not that they're
Yeah,
going, what, your character's stupid, get out of here.
no, they
You know,
despise what he did and what he keeps doing.
yep. And he's relishing in it because you know what, they're paying to come watch him. He's getting the
Oh yeah,
reaction.
exactly. He's doing
So
what a heel is supposed to do. You having people pay money to see you get beat up. Just like that arena is going to be packed at Money in the Bank with people wanting to see Cody Rhodes beat up Dominic.
yep. Um, and by the way, speaking of arenas blowing up, yeah, Trey got back to me. He said the roof blew off the building.
I bet I can imagine, because
uh,
the pop was amazing on TV. I can only imagine what it was live.
um, I, I'm gonna tell him right now. He said, "Oh, he said the whole crowd was actually chanting, 'You deserve it,' even off air."
I saw a clip of that
Yep.
on TikTok this morning. Somebody had posted a clip. Roman standing in the ring looking like he's like, "What is going on?" And the whole arena's chanting, "You deserve it."
So I'm right to recording right now. So I just had to ask a question. I had to ask mid recording. Um, Speaking of Baron Corbin, we've asked this question before, and it seemed like he redeemed himself. But then we've had to ask it again. He redeemed himself. Who did Baron Corbin piss off?
uh I don't know. He's just The problem is they should have left it alone. The
They should have
lone
left
wolf
the low
character was
exactly.
working. That should have been his character going forward, not Constable Corbin or King Corbin or Happy Corbin. The only things that have worked in his WWE career has been the lone wolf and
And broke
bum
broke
and bum
Corbin.
and broke Corbin. Broke Corbin was fantastic. That was excellent. And now he's on NXT. He's immediately wins a number one contender match for the NXT championship. He's not going to win it. They'd be stupid to take it off Carmelo Hayes and put it on Baron Corbin. They've done something like that before, though. They've taken it off Tommaso Ciampa in a triple threat and put it on Dolph Ziggler, which never made any sense to me at all,
Because
because
Dolph
it's like,
Ziggler is an established, you
yeah,
know,
Dolph he's an established star, and I get that they wanted some veteran talent, but the veterans can come in and feud with these younger talents without having to hold the title.
yep, it
The
looks
the
like they look like bullies.
Yeah, the veteran
Yeah,
can come in and chase the title, have the younger talent beat the veteran to keep moving them up, not have the veteran come in, like you said, like a bully and take the top prize, and then you've got, you know, the young guys chasing the veteran.
because Baron lost the other night to Cameron Grimes
Hmm.
in like 3 seconds, 4 seconds, something like that.
Yeah, on the main roster, he's a bust. I
Yeah,
mean, I know he won Money in the Bank, and I know he won the U.S. title, but his U.S. title reign was a cup of coffee. His Money in the Bank cash in was ruined because he got into it with um,
a fan
somebody from a fan who
on
he
Twitter.
didn't. And here's the thing, though, he was. I don't know if he was in character or not during that exchange, But how was he supposed to know that that person was in the military? Because that's what he got in trouble for, not getting into it with a fan. The fan ended up being a member of the military,
Really?
and
I didn't know that.
WWE was like, "Oh no, we can't have this." So they had him cash in on
Against Jinder Mahal.
against gender,
Yeah.
and John Cena cost him the cash in.
Yep. Yeah. All right. Ladies and gentlemen, as somebody who spent 20 years in the military, I will tell you we are not perfect. We are not held to, it's not a case of you can't. If if I was representing the military and I did something stupid, I would get in trouble.
Hmm.
Somebody, I'm not off limits just because Vince McMahon. I mean, and I appreciate the support, from Vince McMahon.
Yeah,
He's a big
I
supporter of
mean,
the
he's a
military.
huge supporter of the military, but yeah, it's
It
like,
it doesn't make me flawless. It doesn't make me above reproach. It
yeah,
doesn't mean that I
Corbin
can't.
just got into it with what he thought was a fan on Twitter, and then the guy comes out later talking about how he's in the military and all this stuff, and that's what got him in trouble with the office.
Uh,
And I never thought that that was really fair to punish him for he might have been in character, and especially if he was in character, that's what he's supposed to do.
and of course, here's the funny thing. Also, he's been catching flack for the past couple of years because apparently outside the ring, he's actually like a super nice guy, and he's like really into like barbecue. He has his own recipes for
Yeah,
barbecuing.
yeah,
He gives tips, like legitimate,
yeah.
barbecuing tips for people. And um, but I liked the Lone Wolf. I wish they would have kept it at that because even when they had him like shave his head and he became like corporate, um,
But I mean, the lone wolf thing still would have worked
mhm.
even with a shaved head. I mean, really, it would
Yeah,
have made him look meaner with the shaved head than it did with the receding hairline and stuff going
yeah,
on.
and they should have, because he's a good wrestler, good move set,
Yeah,
legitimate
the
athlete.
end of days is still
Yeah,
one of the best finishers out there. I would say of any wrestling promotion, end of days is one of the best moves out there.
but it always confused me when he became like the corporate Baron Corbin, but his background video was still literally the wolf, like the lone wolf.
Hmm. Yep.
Didn't make any sense. It's like so
None.
they didn't invest as much as what they should have into the character, and
Nope.
and that's what the basic question is: who did he piss off again?
And that's the thing. Yeah, because it's like on the main roster, like you said, he's losing to Cameron Grimes in 3 seconds. In NXT, he's beaten Ilya Dragunov, who is a former NXT UK champion, to become the number one contender to the NXT title. So it's like, what's I don't like when they have people cross over between NXT and the main roster just because the continuity doesn't match.
Right.
It's like if you're going to have them go back and forth, they act like that people watch SmackDown in a bubble and then watch NXT in a bubble and don't watch either program. And it's like, no, people watch both and they see Baron Corbin over here, winning, and they see him over here getting embarrassed. So it's
Hmm.
like, why is something's not the math is not mathing. Figure that out.
And I read something this past weekend about Baron Corbin, and it was actually a storyline I had forgotten about. Thank God I'd forgotten about it. But it was him and Roman Reigns, the whole dog food thing.
Oh yeah, he poured quote unquote dog food all over Roman. He had him handcuffed to the ring post and
Yeah,
poured dog food all over him because he's like, you call yourself the big dog, you want to be the big dog, and then poured all this dog food on him.
yeah,
And it's like, and
that's disgusting.
there's the basis for the feud. It's like, what is this? The Attitude Era? Is this like British Bulldog did the same thing to somebody back in the Attitude Era? Like the loser had to eat dog food or something, and he had a big can of dog food sitting on the announce table, and it's like, oh,
Uh,
this reminds me of I watched a countdown yesterday from Cultaholic of the dumbest ways that feuds got started in wrestling. And there's one that wasn't on the
uh,
list that should have been on the list, the dog food thing with
I'll
Corbin
have
and
to
Reigns.
I have to go watch that video because I've seen that one, let's see, the Usos and um, the Revival. Yeah. Um,
Oh God,
because they
that's
walked in and they were shaving each other's backs. That's
yeah,
why the feud started.
yeah. And then they give them this, this Oozy cream, and it was like icy hot, and all that. It's like you have two of the best tag teams in the world. That's all you need. Have them go to the ring and put on a tag team classic. You don't need all this. The
And
problem is they were
Vince,
they were playing to an audience of one, which
mm-hmm.
was Vince. Vince found it funny, so that's how it got on TV.
Ha ha, that's good stuff.
Yeah, and it's like just stop.
What a maneuver! He was shaving his back, Vince. Yep, I like
Yeah,
that.
it's good stuff. Put it on TV.
Now, did you sneeze near me? Get away from me. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, that's apparently a thing. Do not call for sneeze around Vince McMahon.
Nope.
Um, which he's going to have a movie made about him. You know that, right?
Oh yeah,
Like,
of
yeah,
course.
you can't help it. You hear all this stuff happening outside the ring, and that's what I've told people. Is like,
I mean, there's too much good stuff for him not to have a movie made. I mean, it's
yeah,
just I mean, the family's not going to like it because whoever gets the rights to do that movie, they're going to put everything in
you
it.
know what? I'll compare it to The Wolf of Wall Street. I really will. I watched that again a couple days ago, but
Yeah, I need to watch that. Yeah, I
yeah,
need to
because
watch that again.
I mean, granted, Jordan Belfort didn't start out at zero, but he was they were pretty, um, like middle class at best.
Yeah.
And then he, of course, you read the real story about him. The movie didn't even cover everything, but
Hmm.
the real story about him, how he went and was making, when he was 26 years old, he made $49 million that one year, which made him mad
Yeah.
because he was just three away from $1 million a week.
Yeah.
And you know, but he was doing like all the drugs, and
Oh yeah.
he was messing around with all the women,
Hmm.
and then he ended up going to jail for a couple of years.
Yeah. Yep.
Um, and apparently he still hasn't paid all the money back that
There's,
he owes.
I mean, he'll never be able to pay that back.
Oh,
It's too
apparently,
much.
apparently he's not paid any of it back.
Oh, he
That's the
hasn't paid a
thing.
dime.
Yeah,
Maybe he's probably just like, nah, I'm not doing that.
yeah, probably. So, but I can see Vince, same thing.
Hmm.
Vince, who literally grew up in a trailer park and have like North Carolina, all of a sudden he was a billionaire,
Hmm.
and then it all started crumbling.
Hmm.
And just like Jordan Belfort, he walked away, but then he said, "I'm not leaving. I'm
Yeah.
not
I'm
leaving.
not
I'm not
leaving.
leaving." So,
Yeah.
um,
Of course, all the people around Jordan Belfort in the movie were cheering that he wasn't leaving. And WWE people were like, please leave. Just go out the door.
out the door. Yeah, just go right there, right there. Go to
Yeah.
the door. Just go. The feds showed up, and still they're, yeah. So,
Yeah.
um, now I will say this, kind of back on the talking about the bloodline themselves and them, the fact that the bloodline just splintered. You have two people, the twins, and then their own brother and their own cousin on the other
Hmm.
side.
Yep.
And Paul Heyman is, of course, side with Roman,
Yeah.
because he's the tribal chief. And now
Yeah.
they're saying Rikishi is going to be making appearances.
I can see that.
Yep. Um, Now Sika, Roman Reigns' dad, Sika.
Hmm.
Um, if he does make an appearance, I don't know if he could really, because that dude, he's got to be like in his 70s now.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Um, and if you haven't noticed, this is something that I found out earlier today about Roman. Roman, for now, is going to, when he's presented on TV or pay per view or whatever, he's going to have all three championship belts.
I thought the whole point of that one belt was
Here is their logic, which is dumb, but their logic is we have the new undisputed championship belt, a singular belt and everything, but we don't want to get rid of the continuity. We don't want to get rid of the lineage of the WWE championship or the Universal championship. So by Roman carrying all three belts with him, he's got the undisputed title, but then we've still got the lineage of the other two belts. If you wanted to keep the lineage of the two belts, that just split them and you would have had it.
Yes.
That's all you had to do. And it's like, I get if they're going for like a belt collector type thing, kind of like AEW did with Kenny Omega when he was like Impact, AEW, AAA champion. Okay. They did that same thing with Austin Aries when he was in Impact. He had the Impact World title and he had multiple independent companies' world titles.
Or Matt
He was
Cardona.
called, or Matt Cardona. Yeah.
Yep.
If you want to go that route, that's fine. But don't say that we're trying to preserve the lineage of these other two championships when the lineage is still there for the one singular title that you just presented it to it. Their problem is, once again, they booked themselves into a corner because the WWE Championship is the oldest championship that they have. It is the pinnacle of world championships. That lineage doesn't need to die, but we introduced this new belt. So we want that lineage to go to the new belt without having to get rid of the old belt. And it doesn't work that way. You're either all in with the new undisputed title, you either let Roman carry two belts, or you or you get rid of the Universal title and keep the WWE title.
Kind of like, these two belts right behind me.
Yeah.
Yep. Because the one on the bottom there, that is the big gold. It replaced the 10 pounds of gold.
Mm-hmm.
And the NWA. Now, granted, the NWA belt did come back when the NWA split back off, or was split. They were forced to split off. So they did bring it back. But but that it was replaced by that. They didn't say, well, we're going to have two different belts all at the same time.
Nope. And they had the only time WCW did that was when they officially went all in with WCW. They had the big gold belt, and then they had the WCW title that I call it the Vader title because that was the most important person that had that belt. He had it 3 times. I never liked that belt, but Ron Simmons and Vader had that belt, so I'm okay with it. But they had the big gold belt, and they had the WCW title. They had every intention of using the big gold belt. So Sting had it. Flair had the WCW title. They had a unification match. Flair wins both titles. They retire the WCW title, the other WCW title, and went with the big gold belt.
Because I think they were calling like the WCW like international title or something.
Yeah, because Sting had it. Rick Rude had it. I think Rick Rude had it twice. And but yeah, they were calling it like the international championship, world championship or something. And it's like, but they were like, we got to get back to this belt because this is the belt everybody knows and likes, and nobody likes this belt, so we'll move over here.
By the way, Sikoa is 78.
Yeah, the last time that Sikoa was on, I remember that I saw him on pay-per-view was Night of Champions. And Night of Champions 2020, where Roman beat Jey.
And him and Alpha brought out
Alpha, yeah, they brought out the lays and put Sikoa put the lay on Roman.
Okay, Money in the Bank, July 1st.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm going to go ahead and say we will probably more than likely have a prediction preview for that one because Money in the Bank, that one's kind of like the Rumble and the Elimination Chamber. It's fun to try to make predictions on those.
Yeah, it's fun to try to figure out, try to predict who's going to win it. Like I said, I'll discuss it more when we do the prediction show, the preview, but I still think LA Knight should win.
I agree. And I think Damian Priest will actually be if it's not LA Knight, I can see giving it to Priest, but then again, like I said, Priest actually he doesn't need it yet. He's actually okay without it. And it's not that LA Knight necessarily needs it, but like you said, right now he's the hottest thing since Sunburn.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like strike while the iron's hot.
Yep. They're not going to. Sammy and I don't even know who's actually in the Money in the Bank match. Let me look. Let me see.
They're talking about adding, I think, 3 more matches. They may have Sammy and Kevin defend against Imperium, because that's the feud that they've got
Ah,
going on right now. Well,
ooh,
no. Take that back, because Pretty Deadly just won the number one contendership on SmackDown on Friday. So it may be Pretty Deadly versus Owens and Zayn for the tag titles at the pay-per-view.
hmm. Well, that'd be all right. I mean,
It'd be all right.
I'd
I'd
rather
rather
see
see
Imperium.
Imperium. Yeah, I'd rather see Imperium. They're the better team, but I don't
Um,
know.
I mean, because with Imperium, that'll be another one of those them and the Brawling Brutes. That actually, I think Imperium versus Brawling Brutes again because that's just going to be a brutal match. I'll just enjoy
Yep.
watching.
Yes.
Woo. Um,
Absolutely.
but I'm looking right now on Wikipedia page, and we know Wikipedia is always right. For the men's Money in the Bank, Ricochet, Shinsuke Nakamura, LA Knight, Santos Escobar, Butch, and Damian Priest.
Yep.
Wow. The women, Zelina Vega, Becky Lynch, Zoe Stark, Bailey, or versus Bailey or Shotzi versus Io Sky versus Raquel Rodriguez or Trish Stratus. Please don't let it be Trish Stratus. We don't need to see Trish back in there.
Yeah, we
It's
don't.
tarnishing her legacy. Seriously.
Here's the thing with the women's. I could see them giving it to Becky because it goes with Becky's legacy, so to speak. She's won both women's titles, the tag title, a Rumble match, and she could win Money in the Bank. I think Io Sky should win Money in the Bank. They're already teasing dissension and damage control anyway because Dakota
Mm-hmm.
Kai is out injured. She's going to be out for a while. I think it was maybe a torn ACL. I'm not sure.
Never fun.
Um, Bailey has been like trying to help Io Sky win her matches and it's backfiring, and Io keeps losing.
Ah, that's one
So
of those lines, one of those angles.
yes, so they've got that going. I could see Bailey costing Io the. I could see Io getting to the top and having her hand on the briefcase, and Bailey coming up and costing her because Bailey's in it because
Of course she is.
of course she is because
Yeah,
it's Bailey.
because it's
You either
Bailey.
have Bailey or Shotzi. Nothing against Shotzi, but Bailey's a smarter move with the storyline going on with her and Io. Then you got Becky and Zoe Stark, who are feuding because Zoe Stark is, Trish's proxy. And so I could see Zoe Stark um, costing Becky the briefcase. So then that really leaves the field wide open.
Wow. Um, I will say I'm very glad they've been giving Zelina Vega a pretty good push lately.
Yeah, me too.
Yep. I think she definitely uh, she she deserved that a few years ago.
Yep.
Now I know they were kind of holding off because you know what, she was not lying about some of the issues that were going on in
hmm
WWE at the time, and we even had a episode talk about those issues, and that you can always find in our archives.
hmm
And on any audio platform that you can think of, we're there. If we're not there, let us know, and we will try to do what we can to get ourselves added. But some of the other matches so far, Cody against Dominic, I think that'll be a good match.
Oh yeah, that'd be good.
Seth and Finn Balor,
Good match.
which yeah, and Finn, he's still harboring, from when he was the first Universal Champion, and Seth, hurt his shoulder like
hmm
very next night, or no, that night actually, wasn't it?
It's during the match. Yeah.
During the match.
Yeah.
I personally think the buckle bomb ought to be banned because the person receiving it is prone and they cannot protect themselves.
hmm
Um, and of course, then the bloodline against the bloodline,
Yeah.
the bloodline against the other half of the bloodline.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, so yeah, the bloodline Civil War tag team match, which is called a grudge match. I mean, what's going to be so different about that? Kind of like
Yeah.
that weird Mountain Dew whatever match that Bray Wyatt was in.
Yeah, that pitch black match,
Yeah,
and which was only done to promote pitch black Mountain Dew. I mean, because the match made no sense,
and
and
I didn't even have pitch black Mountain Dew.
yeah,
I didn't want to have it after that. Especially if they don't make it in a diet form.
yeah,
But um, Before we go, I will give one kind of thing that Dwayne and I have been talking about with the show, and we are actually going to need other people's assistance with this because holy crap, I've been doing a lot of research and I have not even scratched the surface on, you know, um, we got inspired after the episode where we had Mike Bink and Inferno from Finisher Wrestling on the show, and we talked about having Mike and Dwaylen on just doing trivia because oh my god, Mike was very impressive.
Oh,
You know,
extremely knowledgeable.
yeah. So,
Yes.
and I said I'm gonna have a show with just them, and I'm just gonna kick back and eat popcorn and just facilitate, just click buttons, making sure that I'll just be the producer for that show. But since then we've actually had the idea of adding a trivia element to the show, and that would mean we've thought about different things. One called Stump Dwaylen. So if anybody wants to have the challenge of coming on and stumping Dwaylen, now we haven't figured out. Okay, are these if it's something like that? I don't think it would be questions I would come up with just for the sake of
Yeah.
yeah, what's the word I'm looking for? Just to make sure it's on the up and up. I mean,
Hmm.
um,
Yeah, just keep everything fair. Yeah.
yeah, just keep everything fair. So the person would be coming on asking the questions. You know, now I could do the research to verify
Hmm.
the integrity. That's what I'm looking for.
There you go.
Yeah, just integrity. So I wouldn't, because if anybody would say, "Well, how do you didn't give Dwayne the question?" Well, because I don't, and don't be rude. But
Exactly. Yeah.
so, but I do have we're trying to think of some good categories. The format. Do we do it like a Jeopardy type format? Um, I've actually thought of okay. There's could be some things where I'd say there's been so many of this. Um, I'm trying to think of something I'll give something generic that's not wrestling. Okay, name me the countries in South America.
Right.
It's something like that, and boom, boom, boom until they're either all named or
Hmm.
one person is out. Which, by the way,
Yeah.
I'm actually looking at a globe right now. That's why I even said that. Um, there's a globe sitting right there. It's right there, and so I'm looking at Brazil, Peru, Bolivia, Colombia, Venezuela. Man, there's a lot of countries in South America. Um, yeah, but there's also some countries in Central America, between Mexico and Colombia. And
Yeah.
so that'd be the kicker, but it'd be something like that. Um, and I've even thought of other kind of categories, which I'm not even going to tell Dwaylen what the categories are yet.
Right.
Because we could also have people come on against each other.
Hmm.
In that case, now I would be letting Dwaylen know, okay, here's what I
Yeah.
have, what you think. But if Dwaylen's going to be one of the contestants, I wouldn't do that, you
Right.
know, um, because I wouldn't want anybody to question the integrity of that, and
Right.
I get it. I
No.
mean, just to make sure everything is, on the up and up. But y'all don't understand. I would definitely let Dwaylen know the questions and answers, and whatever money he wins, we split. but, but yeah, we don't want anything like that. We've actually thought about actual prizes. Um, maybe don't know what yet because I mean you do get people want to have an incentive to come on. We could
Yeah.
have like a tournament,
Yeah.
so but if anybody is interested, because I have actually pitched this idea to a few people and they say, in fact, while we were recording the show, I got a text message from our good friend Ted, and because I had actually told him about it earlier, and he said that'd be a good idea, so we have the endorsement of Ted, and that
Yeah.
to me means what we got to do it now.
Oh yeah.
Because, um, so in fact, I think Ted would be a excellent contestant.
Hmm. I do too.
Yep. So, and we've just from doing this podcast and collaborating with other podcasters, and then just meeting people in general who don't have their own podcast, but they listen to our podcast. They listen to Ted's. They listen to uh, BC and Jay. They listen to Finisher Wrestling. listen to the Dad World Order. There's a couple other guys who could be on, and they can knock it out. We know it would be a lot of fun. So if anybody is interested in coming on doing that, or if you have category ideas, or if maybe you don't want to be on, you just want to contribute a question, let us know. Let at least one of us know. Email the show, armchairbookingpodcast@gmail.com. Hit us up on the socials, on Twitter, it's at Booking Armchair. Hit Dwayne up at fat_daddy73 and let us know what you think. Any ideas you want to throw our way, because we like this idea, but we also realize that it's a huge idea and it's going to take other people to help us out, because it can't just be me and Dwayne throwing questions at each other every week, because eventually we'd run out of stuff. So
plus it gives like fresh eyes and everything, and
it does.
It lets more people the more people that are involved, the more interesting it'll be.
Yep. So that's actually all I have for today's episode. My friend, do you have anything else?
Nope, not today.
Yep. So all right. So we actually recording this a little bit earlier in the day. So that's what happens when you don't have jobs.
Yeah.
So
what happens? That it gives you a little more time to kind of move things up in the day.
Yep. So but until we can actually talk again, hopefully we'll be recording again on Thursday. We'll see. So until then, I'll just have to say see ya and God bless.
God bless.